and let's take a look at our build for the Drake. This is RobloxianPLAYS' game.
Let's just say I do a very me thing here.
Stop laughing. We'll get to it in a minute, Grunty. Jesus. You know, you're the reason why when I was growing up, the teachers always had that stupid little piece of paper on the overhead that they would slide down, so you didn't look too far ahead.
How
Very
am I
me thing
looking
here.
too far ahead? I'm just looking at the screen.
No, but what I'm saying is, here. What I'm saying is, the teachers of old would have something like this.
I know. I'm used to that.
Okay? Anyways, so, the Drake. It's the tier 9 of the British heavy cruiser line, so 234mm guns. It's 3x3. Look, I never liked this ship, personally. The Goliath is a fun ship, but one tier down, I feel like it doesn't reload fast enough for my tastes. It lacks a lot of the punch that I'd want it to have. Up close, you can use the AP, I suppose. Got torpedoes. It's got a nice heal. Got Hydra. There's some things that go for it. But personally, this was one of my most hated grind ships. And then Rob went and did something else. So let's talk about Rob's build. Rob did a very me thing. He did not free XP, at the very least, free XP the hull. Now, anytime you are working on grinding a ship in World of Warships, the very best thing you can do, unless frankly you're playing co-op or operations, the very best thing to do, most important thing to do, is free XP the B hull. Rob, why is that?
I find that if I can learn how to play the ship when it's in its worst configuration, they'll play it better when it's in its best. At least for me. This is how I learned it when I first started playing. That's how I learned it.
This is actually one of the very few ships where I would actually get the range over the hull first. This
Because
is
of how
so
important
painful.
it is. Yeah.
It's so painful to play with this range.
Yeah,
These type of ships, like, I don't like them either. I played those in Super Test, and it feels like a throwback to the past, like to the old IGN cruisers that want to be on the flank kiting, and the meta is just not there for them anymore.
Yeah, the problem with these ships is that in general, they don't impact the battle much. In general, typically they're farming ships. They'll have good damage numbers, but you're not going to impact whether you win or lose the game. Now, at 14.5 kilometers base range, yeah, it's kind of sad.
You got a spotter plane though on this, but still, it's like...
So, oh god damn it! All right, so when you take a look, the survivability of the ship. First of all, look at maneuverability. Look at the rudder shift time: 11 seconds versus 15.5 seconds. I don't care about your argument of I want to play the ship when it's gimped so that I can get better, and then when I upgrade it, it's easier for me. Dude, take the ship in its final form and use it. Like, seriously, that's huge. That's 4 seconds of rudder shift. I mean, that's huge. And then let's get to, I don't think concealment changes at all. No. But let's get to your survivability. 40,000 hit points versus almost 47. Now, when you add the heals on top of that, that's a lot more hit points to work with. And then typically you get better anti-air guns as well. So that's why you typically want to upgrade the hull as soon as you can. Now, if you don't have the free XP and or credits to do that, then what you do is you grind this out in co-op. Or right now, the Halloween operation, if you want to, you know, brief your teammates. If they're all randoms, who cares, I guess. Or you can do it in brawls or ranked or asymmetric. Yeah, exactly. But, like, personally...
Please not ranked. Please not ranked.
If you want to trigger Grunty, please take it in a ranked. But, seriously, like, it's so important to get the hull. It's so important to get the hull. So get the damn hull. And then, and I would agree with Grunty on this one. The extra range, going from 14.5 to 16, gives you a lot of work, a lot to work with, I should say. There's a couple other things that you can do to help your range. First of all, Rob, come on, dude. We've been through this. Buy the frickin' modules.
You're making life so hard on yourself for no reason. Like,
I'm guessing, Rob, you're doing this because you don't have the credits.
Just bought the ship.
I can't hear you. What was that?
I had just bought the ship, so I was a little short on money.
So, what do you do if you're short on money and credits
You play games.
in...
High profit ships.
You play games in premium ships, especially tier 7 and tier 8. Because you get a lot of credits out of those games. And ironically enough, God drifted. And ironically enough, at the same time that that's happening, you can be training up a captain or retraining a captain for this ship. So it's kind of a twofer. They work really well together. You should not be going into a random battle, in my opinion, with no upgrades, especially at tier 9. I could see the argument at tier 5 or 6, but tier 9, come on, dude. Alright, so what should he have? In slot 1, you could go for spotting aircraft. You could also do main armaments. One of those two would be handy. In slot 2, you typically want to go with engine room protection to prevent your engine and rudder should they get whacked. In slot 3, you're typically going to go with aiming systems. In slot 4, you could do either propulsion or steering gears. It really depends on your maneuverability. Stock, your maneuverability is trash. With the upgraded hull, your maneuverability is still, in my opinion, too high at 11 seconds. So in my recommendation, I would probably go for steering gears to get that lower. Right now, with the default hull, it's 12.38. With the upgraded hull, it becomes 8.84, which is much more comfortable. If you're more comfortable doing a stop and go kind of speed juking setup, then propulsion could work for you. But Rob chose nothing.
I think the heavy cruisers still suffer from the British bad deceleration braking thing. So stop and go is not really recommended on those type of cruisers.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time if you're playing stop and go on Goliath and on Drake, you're playing it at max range anyways. You don't need to stop in a hurry. Versus if you're up close to dodge torpedoes. I understand what you're saying, Grunty. So it just comes down to how you play the ship. In slot 5, concealment is obvious. You could make the argument for rudder and propulsion here, I guess, as well. And then in slot 6, most people are going to go for reload, but I actually recommend range here because with the upgrade, that takes you to a very comfortable 18.5 kilometers. That gives you so much room to dodge incoming fire.
Yeah. I'd probably make it a bit dependent on the captain skills. If you spec for your spotter plane with the decreased cooldown and so, you can probably rely on the spotter plane a bit more and take the reload. But the ballistics on these ships are pretty good, so range is definitely a good option.
Right. I never, in this ship, I never really felt like the reload was that important. I mean, the reload is pretty crappy anyway. 30 shots per minute versus 34.1 shots per minute. So the time itself is 16 seconds, right? Versus 18.
The way I see it, like, you said it earlier, you have rather low game impact in these type of cruisers, right? Like, if you take the reload and you play it a bit closer, your battle impact is probably a bit higher than if you take the range and stay even further away.
Yes, this is true. This is true. And by that point, then I would recommend just Death Blossom build and go from there. Hey, Dragonet, there you go. Get rid of defensive anti-air fire. Hydro is far, far superior on these ships.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to do that.
Okay. You got a 10-point captain. I'm guessing it's a standard, not one of the specials.
Yeah. It's the same commander I had on the Albemarle.
You're very quiet.
Oh, sorry.
It's the captain you had on the Admiral. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got Grease the Gears, Priority Target, Superintendent, and Concealment Expert. So, this is a fine build. I might have started with Last Stand just to ensure you don't lose engine rudder in a crucial moment.
Yeah, like
I would have started with the gun feeder, but I would cap the rest.
like I don't really lose my engine or my steering all that often in this ship.
Is that because you're already dead?
Didn't you say you
No.
just got the ship and this is the first game you played or
Yeah, but
something like this? So how do
like
you
the
know
way
that you don't lose the engine?
but like in the Albemarle, I was like almost never losing the engines or the steering gear.
Hmm.
It's usually my torpedo tubes I was losing.
Yeah.
Now, I
Rob
will
has
say-
a point though. I don't think the engine is particularly, or the rudder is particularly vulnerable in that ship.
But when you need it the most, and here's the thing, you're basing on the tier 8, your opinions based on the tier 8. I would argue the tier 8 Albemarle plays very differently from the Drake because it's got lower caliber guns that reload much faster. In my opinion, the Albemarle is a superior ship to the Drake. I enjoyed the Albemarle much more than the Drake. Putting that out there.
Fair point. But if you play it even further back, like in the Drake or so, it's even less likely you get your engine knocked out. Plus,
Oh yeah, that's true.
you always have your DCP, right? It's not like
Until you don't. Hey, Mustang. All right, so let's take a look. Oh, look. So you're too cheap to do upgrades, but hey, flags, you'll slap those babies on.
It makes
Usually
no
because I have
sense.
hundreds of those.
It
Okay.
makes no sense, Rob. I'm sorry.
Look, you're
I
running
mean,
protection.
Like you'd honestly be better off if you just sold one of each of those flags and bought the modules.
Please don't do that either. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of
I'm
selling
not-
flags, but I understand what you're getting at. That's a joke, but I understand what you're getting at. Anyway, I just ran stream raiders off stream, guys. We won, yay. So flag-wise, you got fire chance, anti-det. You've got anti-air cooldown. I mean, if you have hydro, this is better for hydro. But anyways, you got heal boosting and speed boosting consumables. That's fine. The flag setup is fine. I might go for the fire reduction, especially if you're at long range. It just helps you be tankier. Or you could do if you play close into people and you want to ram, you could try for that. But I know, right, Driftin? Holy cow, he has flags. And Parniel, you hated the Albemarle. I'm sorry to hear that. All right, let's
I
get
didn't
in.
like the album much either, but it's better than the Drake.
Yeah. Well, I got to the Drake and I'm like, hey, cool, I got bigger caliber guns. And I'm like, oh, this sucks after like 5 games. And then it was just pain.
Yeah.
You
Like
know?
as I said, I super tested that line back in the time, and I didn't grind it when it came out. Like that should
Right,
tell you
well,
all how I feel about it.
Because obviously you can't explain your actual feelings and experience while testing because that's NDA. AFK2 law.
I'm not a super tester anymore, and it's so fun.
No, but I'm just saying, you know, if you ever want to become a super tester again, you'd rather play Alba at tier 9 than Drake at tier... Yeah, Mustang, I agree, totally. Albemarle, to me, she's a little bit more maneuverable too, I think. She's, I think, a smaller hull, which makes it harder to hit too. Alright, anyway, congratulations. You are a bottom tier ship. NBA, good night. Thank you for coming and hanging out. I appreciate that. It's a special, you know, special stream, so awesome. Free XP, yeah, take the free XP and get to 10. You could absolutely do that. Sometimes I feel like Wargaming purposely makes tier 9s completely garbage to encourage people to spend free XP.
God, I wish I could tell a story now, but I can't because Sass is a super tester, and I want to get him in trouble.
Thank you. Because I'm not just a super tester, I'm a coordinator. Oh, NBA, thank you for lurking, dude.
That was a great battle.
I don't like the Goliath much either, though. Like this whole line is like,
See,
it's whatever to me.
Goliath is a lot of fun, but Goliath's main utility is in clan battles, or maybe COTS, right? But mostly clan battles. because it's got the traditional, the really good heal. All right, so anyways, contact made. You are reversing in. I would be stopping here.
I'm not actually reversing it. I actually turned around here.
I know, but what I would be doing is I would be stopping here. You only have one person targeting you because your Annapolis is about to die.
Yeah, you actually have to kind of stop here because like you're getting out of range.
You're at the edge of
Like
your
turning
range.
around.
Hey, good night, Wolf. Mini Conco Bird. So, this is the part I was talking to you about where you play W and S games. Moving forward, backing up. Moving forward, backing up. When you get to this position, I've done it so many times, Rob, you slow down. You don't have to stop completely. You can. But you slow down. You slow down to like a quarter speed. It's very hard to hit ships at a quarter speed in this game. I don't know what it is. Very hard to do. You slow down to a quarter. It gives you the freedom to speed up if you need to. Or, right now, Rob, how many people are targeting you right now? Rob?
None. Sorry, I was adjusting my mic.
Alright, how many are targeting you right now?
None, but that's about to change.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, nobody's targeting you right now. If nobody's targeting me, I feel comfortable enough to stop or even reverse. If that number goes above 1, I will typically speed up a little bit, okay? If it's 1 exactly, I figure out which son of a bee is targeting me, and I watch them like a hawk, and I shoot them. Because if they're shooting me, I immediately know to speed up and start juking. Do you understand what I'm saying about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Wardog says, well, I want it for the collection because you have the first 2 to 3 weeks of the closed beta. Please give me Kitakami, but I fear the walk over torpedo waves. Yes. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I can tell you why it's so hard to shoot these targets at quarter speed. Like, if you're properly angled like this, the smokestack is very, very hard to see.
Yes.
At how much smoke it drags behind it. And that's basically your only way of telling how fast the ship is going.
Right. And yes, if nobody's aiming at you, farm like you're snacking on a good chocolate. Exactly. All right, 2 people were just targeting you for a sec. Now, Robbie said that's about to change. Well, your Annapolis died closer. Right now, they've got the Elbing and Sherman to shoot at. Look at how far back you are. You have run away from this engagement. You've got nobody to shoot. And by the way, this is with your plane up, Rob. So now you're stuck. Look at what you're doing. You are now stuck turning back in. This is absolutely what you don't want to do. Because when you turn back in... Rob, how are you going to get out if you turn back in? What do you have to do?
Turn around.
Yeah, you got to turn back out again. Which means you get to show your broadside to turn out. So the best way to control your engagement, and I think I've talked about this before on some of your replays, the best way to control your engagement is to reverse while pointing away. Here you go, turning out. 2 people targeting you. 2 people targeting you. 3 people, 4 people, look at that. Broadside cruiser, yes please. Now, you went dark, but not before doing the cruiser loser turn and getting everybody to want to shoot you.
Yeah, you could have waited with the turn too. Like, the moment you saw the smoke going up, there was a chance you actually go dark. So I would have waited. And then if you actually go dark, then you can downboard safely do that turn.
Now you're trying to shoot the Haragumo. In order to do that, you're going to give the Piemonte over there a broadside. You play galactic range mounts.
I would not be looking at my shells going into the destroyer while you're broadside to another ship.
I'd be looking at the ship that could be targeting you, especially if your priority target has a 1. I'd be trying to figure out who's the son of B that's going to be shooting at me.
Like, yeah, you want to see the moment these shells go out of that ship, you want to see those shells so you can actually react to them.
I mean, it's fun to watch the shells go in, go boom, but I guess if you're a battleship with AP, then there you go. Or a cruiser with AP on somebody that's broadside, sure. But HE? Meh. Line up your next shot, get ready to go.
Like, the only reason I'd zoom in on shells is if I actually need to see where they land, if I need to adjust my aim. Otherwise, it's just like it doesn't do it. It's just distracting. It puts your focus away from something that is really important,
Right.
just to see your shells hit.
Right. And so that's the second way you've kind of wasted some of your time. The first is still, look how far back you are. You've only done 20k damage. You're 6 minutes into the game. Stopping and reversing would have kept you in this fight longer.
So, can you? You're located right now.
By
And
one
that
target.
destroyer in the cap is closer to the Des Moines, so you know there's something else out there.
So I'm pausing it for a
Because if-
second. So what Grunty is saying is you are located by one target right here. This is how you use radiolocation against somebody. Okay? So what he's saying is, if you look at where the Des Moines is, okay? You look at where the Des Moines is, and then you look at where the cap is. This Haragumo, for example, that was last spotted in the D cap. If this Haragumo is indeed still in this location, and he's got radiolocation, he would be pointing at the Des Moines, not at you, because the Des Moines is closer to you. So because you are located, that tells you either the Haragumo has moved to some place that's closer to you than the Des Moines, which would be probably like here, Echo 9, or there's somebody else over here that hasn't been spotted yet. What could that be? Lucian would be my guess. Grunty, did I
I
miss
don't know
something?
what it is. I'm just saying like that. This when I saw this relocation nozzle locate popped up, that there's gotta be something out there on his flank somewhere.
Right.
Like if it's the Haragumo, if it's a different ship, you don't know.
Right. By the way, I did not
But
hear
you-
from Ice Pick, so I'm going to draw another winner with me 94. Monty. Ice Pick or with me 94, say something in chat so I can get you your prize. Could be Piemonte, but doubtful. Well, now you're going to be located because now the Des Moines is dead anyways. Here you go, once again, being forced to make a turnout in front of a whole lot of enemies. Yeah, you're healing ahead of time, figuring I'm screwed. AP would be good here, by the way, but you're not reacting to that.
Torpedoes astern.
Yeah, you know, if he's got radiolocation, you're telling him you're dumping torps at him. And while you're doing that, if you want to dump torps on him onto your left torps, you're going to give broadside to everybody that's in the decap. Which is pain.
Which is why you actually see me turning the other way.
Yeah. Shoot the Salem.
Enemy team has taken the lead.
Oh my god, look at this. The enemy Vermont is going into your home cap. That's how bad you guys are doing right now. Lucian's at A. So it's that Haragumo that was probably in front of the Piedmont.
Yeah, like
Hey, you
let's
got
be
the
real
torp.
here. Like
Enemy cruiser destroyed.
his team is not doing him many favors here.
No. But I feel that one of the strengths of the Drake and the Goliath is getting shot at and mitigating a lot of that damage. Unfortunately, you haven't been able to do that.
Torpedoes to port.
Yeah, but that comes back to his decision running without modules and everything.
I know,
Like,
right. Yeah.
Torpedoes to
He needs to go way too close to make himself a target, which is way too risky.
Yep. And what's the result? Well, we're halfway through the game. You have 1.5 million potential damage. They are shooting at you, but you've only got 55,000 damage. You're not really doing much against them. Those torps have no chance of hitting a target. You got a fire on the midsection, I think. Or somebody did. So I'd be aiming at the stern or the bow. How long it takes to reload these. Hey, with me. There you are. Good. Yeah, he is aiming quite low on the hull, too. with the Vermont, I get he's turning in, but I'd still be concerned about him. Yeah, he's still quite
aiming like
slow.
he's shooting AP and wants to Citadel.
Right,
But he's a cruiser and shooting HE.
right.
I think. I mean, I was playing a battleship before this, so my brain might have been still on battleship mode there. I don't know.
All right, y'all. CC container, we're going to do this draw after this replay is done. This is a replay, Dragoneth. Okay, you got a fire on the Vermont just as he was trying to leave. Okay, again, here's where you've got two targets that are at the edge, extreme edge of your range. Now they're too far out of your range because your plane is down. Instead of turning away at full speed and running, what you do is you stop and you reverse. Because then, again, you control your engagement. When it's time to leave, you hit W 4 times and get the heck out. With you running away at full speed, again, you're going to be forced to turn in to get into range again, and then turn out to get out of range again. Okay, there's the stop, so that's good. 1 second before disaster, almost. There goes your last heal.
The enemy is about to win. What rotten luck!
Oops.
I need intelligence data.
Ah, damn it. Alright, so there's the Ushikov. Again, see now look, you've turned around, now you're face into him. And now if you open up here, you're giving a broadside to the Vermont and the Ushikov. Which is pain. Right?
I mean, at this point, there is just nothing he can do. Like,
I mean, the game's
this
over.
This game is over. All you can do at this point is try to get as much damage as possible before it's actually over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the perfect thing what we said earlier, like with these low impact chips, right?
Overturning, you're gonna
Sim-
die to the Ushikov
Is
salvo.
about to win.
You're gonna get Falco punched right here. Oh my god, they killed Rob.
Like 78,000 damage is not bad, especially considering it's like a bottom tier match. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like
Hey, tea drinker.
as a whole, there was no impact on the game. Like
Right.
the whole line, there's just you don't have the DPM to boost to shoot someone down quickly, and if the team just doesn't do anything, then you're not doing anything.
The hard thing about this line is you have to realize that this ship and Goliath specifically, really, is you have to realize that your biggest strength is getting people to shoot at you. Now, Rob, you've got 2.25 million potential damage. That's good. But the problem is that most of that damage was done as you're running around, and I would call it opportunity salvos that the enemy took at you, right? Because you're showing side, because what did you do? You turned back in and then had to turn back out. So everybody sees you, right? You're basically showing them, you know, your citadels, and they're like, hey, let's get it. And then they shoot at you. Which is okay, but here's the problem. What's happening when they're not shooting at you? They're shooting at your teammates. You have to think of the Drake and the Goliath as team ships. You are the ultimate tank. You're the super tank for a cruiser on this side of the map. Get them to shoot at you, but maintain your angle, and when they start shooting at you, you can hit W, and you can turn depending on how they're shooting at you, so that the shell hits you in the midsection and bounces off. It mitigates as much damage as possible using your armor scheme. That's how you play these ships. And you keep shooting at enemies, while that's happening, because you've got great range, especially if you got range module, you got the range upgrade, whatever, you keep shooting at them, and essentially you piss them off. That's the whole point of this ship and the Goliath, is you upset the enemy so much they keep shooting at you. If they're shooting at you, they're not shooting at your teammates. That's why it's a good ship to use in clan battles, and randoms not so much, because your teammates aren't really good at utilizing or taking advantage of the fact that you are out there being shot at. Do you understand what I mean? And there goes Rob saying, I tried. I hate when people say that. I really hate when people say that.
I try not to say it, but sometimes it just slips out.
So when you say I tried, that's typically a sign that you're frustrated with your own performance and you just don't really understand what you could have done differently. So you say I tried because, yeah, you tried. And that's fair, but the reality of it is that there were things that you could have done differently in this game that would have really helped. But hey, that's why you sent the replay in, right? You wanted the feedback, yeah?
The
Yeah.
thing is though, like even if you played this perfectly though,
You probably would have lost anyways. Yeah.
I doubt it
Absolutely.
would have been enough. It's just like people like, I don't want to say meme, like we joke about that some ships are not carry ships.
Absolutely.
But it's true. Like in some ships, you just have not a good ability to carry your team.
Yep.
And the Goliath, the whole British heavy cruiser line falls into that category. Like,
Yep.
you can maybe amplify your team a little bit with them, but the ability on your own to make plays happen is just not there.
Right. 100%. And that's the hard part about playing this in a random battle environment. It's extremely difficult for you to have that kind of impact. And that's frankly why I really struggled when I was grinding these out myself. They were very pain in the butt to do. All right, we're gonna fast forward because, I mean, you're just looking at the...
But this guy's about to die.
Yeah. All right, did I switch it? I did not. Let me switch it to Drake. Let's take a look at your post-battle screens. Okay. Team score, where'd you end up? You came in 4th place. Now, if you were doing what I said, Rob, about stopping and constantly shooting and stuff, you probably would have ended up 2nd or 3rd. Would that have mattered this game? Probably not, like Grunty said. Detailed report. Look at the damage that you received. And the reason I say that is because, again, having the super heal, all that, in theory, this number should be a lot higher if you died. But again, because you don't have the hull upgrade, that's a lot of hit points that you leave off the table.
It's also a lot of the damage taken that is not healable.
Well, let's take a look at that. The damage that you took from AP shells. Here. All the shells that you took. Piemonte hit you with sap shells. I can't... How repairable is sap? I can't remember.
All penetration damage is healable 50% standard. It doesn't matter from what type of shell it comes.
Okay, I couldn't remember if sap was something special or not. So obviously, you know, AP damage in your Citadel hurts more. And I wish we could see that, you know, when we look at this, how many Citadels did you take and stuff. But at the end, it gives you an idea of how many shells hit you and how much damage you took from it. So look at the Vermont, for example.
It's probably not that much, but what you'd ideally like to see is like a lot of damage coming from HE and from fires from cruisers that are frustrated shooting at you.
Right.
Instead of taking these big chunks of damage from AP from battleships or even a Salem. If a Salem shoots that much at you and gets that much damage with AP, that means you were broadside to it, which is...
Yeah, right at the
you
end
don't want to
there.
be broadside to a Salem.
And this goes back to, again, that constant turning in and turning out, and then turning back in, then turning out, and then turning back in. What I said to do is, as soon as you make contact, you turn out and stop. And then you reverse. If you want to close with your enemy, you reverse to them. Okay? You don't turn back around and go straight at them. You reverse at them. I realize it takes longer to do that, but the nice thing is if you need to get out of dodge from this, you just hit forward. If you're doing this and you need to get out of dodge, there's two options. One is that you stop and slowly reverse. That hurts because everybody beats the crap out of you while you're doing that. Other option is you turn sideways, and while you do that, Salem does his thing. Pedro, 5KKK, thank you for the follow. So that's part one, and I agree with Grunty. What you want to see is a ton of HE shells hitting you and doing the majority of damage. If you look at it, it was the opposite. AP was hitting you and doing the majority of damage, which means you weren't able to use your armor scheme effectively to shatter or bounce incoming fire. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, you maintain that angle when you reverse and pull forward if you need to, and you're wiggling, by the way, when you're doing this. You're not just doing like this. You're wiggling a little bit as shells are coming in, okay? You're being able to bounce more shells. So use this to help you get an idea of what's going on with the damage that's coming in. You had one fire that you DCP'd immediately. I was tabbed out when that happened. No need to DCP one fire. Unless that happened at the same time you lost your engine, in which case, by all means, DCP that.
I haven't seen it. What it was? Oh, I don't remember it.
Yeah. All right, here's the replay render, guys. Remember, we have a CC container giveaway we're going to draw as soon as we're done with this render.
It's just painful here on this whole side. Like, if you look at the devastation too, like he went being behind that island, basically just shooting, never tanking anything, and at some point he just went in and died within like a minute. Then
this is one of those. This is one of those times when you look at your super ships and you expect your super ships to do something and they just don't. Look at your Annapolis. Your Annapolis is farther forward than you. What he needed to happen right there is he needed the Sherman to smoke. But the Sherman didn't smoke. I don't know if he asked for it or not. But the Sherman should have smoked. He should have asked for the Sherman to smoke, and that's absolutely on the Annapolis here. The Annapolis is going to get himself killed.
Radar way too early, too.
I'm sorry, what?
He also used his radar way too early before he even had radar coverage of the cap.
When you
he
see
wasn't
that,
radaring the cap, I think he was radaring for the Haragumo, no?
possibly.
Well, he radared when at most he had half the cap covered.
You need a track trace to see what Rob was trying to write on the map. I wish that there was a way you could just see a line of everywhere that somebody went. All right, anyway, let's advance this further. But Rob, seriously, this part here, you've made contact with the enemy. You see their cruisers. This is when you turn out and stop and reverse. And preferably, you turn out facing the other direction. So you turn out facing the border of the side that you're on. So you should be looking north and east here.
Basically, just
180.
completely the opposite way. Yeah, 180.
So
To
this part
avoid
here,
getting shot at from the island.
yeah.
inside.
See, here's the problem with this right here, Rob, is you are able to angle against the enemy that's to the south of you, but you can't angle to the enemy that's in the center of the screen, like that Vermont that's coming your way. So this is less optimal. If you're angled towards the border here, then you have the ability to angle against the group to the south, and the people like the battleship that shoots at you, they're just going to shoot at your butt. Chances are they're not going to hit you well. They might hit you with 1 or 2 shells, but they're not going to slap you. Right now, you're broadside, they'll slap you.
I think the only reason he even made this turn right there is
Annapolis.
because the Annapolis messed up even more.
That's correct. Annapolis turned out way too late, yes.
Annapolis should have just stopped at the island there.
Well, again, I feel like the Annapolis was expecting smoke from the Sherman.
Like,
But-
even if you expect the smoke, you stop there, right?
I guess I agree with you there, Grunty. I'm just simply saying that kind of team play should have happened. It didn't happen. I don't think the Annapolis asked. We'd have to go back in the replay. I don't have time for that. So, whatever. Annapolis dies. So here's the part, Rob, where you're just going too far away. I'm just going to keep it playing because you can kind of see you open up a little bit, and then you want to keep shooting, but now you're at the edge of your range. So what do? You turn back in because there's nobody to shoot. You turn back in. And right now they're focused on the Sherman. They're focused on your Elbing that just died. So you're able to get away with this because they're looking at the Sherman and the Elbing. Sherman's about to die. And when the Sherman dies, now who are they going to shoot at? You and the Wooster. Oh, Wooster just got clapped. Now, you're the closest target, so they're probably going to focus on you. And now, once again, I'm pausing it here. Look, you've turned back in. Good night, Scuba. Thanks for tuning in, dude. So, now you've turned in. Now you, once again, you have to turn out or you have to reverse to get out of trouble. You should have never turned in there. Another time you should have backed in. There's your first heal. Probably too early. Now's when you want to heal.
The devastation just gets focused. Like, the sad part is, like, had this devastation made a play like this going down early on instead of just swinging into the home cap and then coming back,
Yeah,
this whole flank would have played out differently too.
absolutely. And again, this is not a game that Rob probably would have won. But we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on what kind of feedback we can give Rob to help him improve his gameplay in the Drake. And here's another example of where you could have stopped and reversed, but you didn't. You kept moving forward at full speed. Which means now you have to... Here comes the turn back in again.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, if he stopped like there, this is like the perfect angle where you want to be at to shoot these battleships, right?
Yep. And
Just
now...
keep that angle and keep the distance.
And now you're shooting at the Ushikov, and there's the Salem who's like, oh, hey, cool, broadside Drake. Yes, please. Whack. There you go. Rob, any more questions? Anything else you want to discuss in this replay?
No. Like a large part of why I set the scene is it's not just a learning experience for me here. Like if someone's just getting into the Drake like I am, they might see this and go, okay, yeah, here's what not to do.
100%.
And the only reason
100%.
I got the Paimon there was because I got lucky and he moved forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, he thought he was safe. He had crawling smoke. He decided to crawl right into your torps. So, you know.
Like, I noticed this on a couple of your replays, Rob. Like we're telling this with the stop and go and stuff. You're more like the cruiser that keeps on moving full speed and wiggling and dodging, which for some cruisers works well.
Especially like
But-
the Venezia.
But if you want to go that route, you really need to make sure that your rudder shift is as good as it possibly can be.
Get the stupid hull.
Which comes back to getting the hull upgrade, yes.
Honestly, look, it's a bad habit that a lot of people inherit from playing cruisers in the mid tiers a lot. At tier 5, 6, and 7, and even to a certain extent 8, a lot of players never bother stopping. They hit W 4 times, and they just hit A and D to turn left and right, but they never slow down or reverse. And this is a very important skill for you to learn, not just for cruisers, but it comes in very handy for gunboat destroyers as well, especially the French gunboat destroyers, just the French destroyers, because they're all gunboats, I guess, and the Russian destroyer line when you're using them as gunboats like the Kiev and the Tashkent. You have to know when it's time to stop and reverse versus it's time to disengage and run. You'll never see me going in with a Tashkent or Kiev and turning back out again and then turning back in again. I'll turn out and I'll stop and I'll reverse and I'll move forward and I'll reverse and I'll do those kinds of games, but I'll never turn right back in again. Okay?
I like wiggle dodging in Russian DDs. I wouldn't do it in French ones, but in Russians I actually like it.
I mean, Yeah, if you want to, fine, whatever. I'm just saying, like, I think this is an important skill for
It's
players
still-
to
yeah.
learn. That's all I'm trying to get at. Nice shot,
That's
Grace.
true. That's very true.
Okay, well, are we good with this replay then? I think we're good.